In his book, The Fourth Secret of Fatima, Antonio Socci, the leading Italian journalist and television host, concludes there exists a fourth secret of Fatima, or rather, a part of the third secret, evidently what follows the words of the Madonna, interrupted by etc.
Socci's book is a bombshell. This is a leading public intellectual in Italy. He has his own television show. He has personally hosted press conferences for both Cardinal Ratzinger and Archbishop Bertone, who at the time was no less than the secretary of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. This is a witness of unimpeachable integrity. Furthermore, Socci admits in his book that when he began his investigation, he totally accepted the Vatican party line on the meaning of the third secret, only to be totally convinced that there was in fact a text that has yet to be published. As he puts it in the book, I had to surrender to the evidence. Once he began to study the case, he had no choice but to conclude, as others have concluded, that there is indeed a missing text. And this is a tremendously favorable development for the effort to discover the truth in this matter.
But Socci's book goes even further. His investigation has uncovered the direct testimony of the personal secretary of Pope John XXIII, Archbishop Loris F. Capovilla. According to Capovilla, Pope John's successor, Paul VI, called for and read the contents of this envelope on June 27, 1963. However, the Vatican commentary on the vision, published in June 2000, states that Paul VI read a text pertaining to the secret on March 27, 1965, nearly 2 years later. Socci recounts that when an Italian journalist, Soledeo Ballini, asked Capovilla whether this meant that there were two envelopes containing two different texts pertaining to the secret, Archbishop Capovilla replied in Italian, "Per l'appunto," which translated means precisely so.
In his book, Il Quarto Segreto di Fatima, The Fourth Secret of Fatima, Antonio Socci, a great Italian journalist who has never been polemical against the Vatican in his previous positions, and who as well is personally known by the currently reigning Pope and esteemed by the current Secretary of State Tarcisio Bertone, reports in a perfect and absolute literal and exact manner the personal confirmation that Archbishop Capovilla, Emeritus Confidential Secretary of Pope John XXIII, gave to me about the existence of two different texts of the third secret of Fatima.
On May 10, 2007, Cardinal Bertone published his response to Socci in a book-length interview entitled The Last Seer of Fatima. Rather than directly responding to the challenges posed by Dr. Socci, the Cardinal instead resorted to personal attacks against the man himself. Throughout the writing of his book, until the present, Cardinal Bertone has refused to speak with Socci, despite the fact that Socci and Bertone previously had been on friendly terms. Dr. Socci easily refuted Cardinal Bertone's book in a newspaper article dated May 12, 2007. Unable to let the matter rest, on May 31, 2007, Cardinal Bertone appeared on the popular Italian television program Porta a Porta to deny the premise of Socci's book. But Socci was not allowed on the program, even though other journalists who knew far less about Fatima appeared on the set to interview the Cardinal. Socci later learned from the television station that Bertone made it clear that he wanted no challenges to his position on the broadcast. Dr. Socci refuted Cardinal Bertone's TV presentation on June 2nd, just 2 days later, in a second newspaper article.
On September 21, 2007, Cardinal Bertone held another event for the official presentation of his book, The Last Seer of Fatima, held here at the Pontifical Urbaniana University in Rome. We are here in front of its entrance. This event was attended by government dignitaries, bankers, Vatican prelates, and members of the press. In an attempt to once again have his questions answered by the Cardinal, Antonio Socci, I was with him here that day, attended the event. After he learned from the director of the Vatican press office that the Cardinal would not allow any questions to be asked of him, Sochi and I proceeded to the main entrance of the auditorium, hoping to ask a question of the cardinal on his way in, before he would enter inside the Aula Magna for the presentation. On the arrival of the cardinal, seeing Sochi at the entrance of the Aula Magna, Bertoni changed his route and darted in another entrance. When the journalists present saw what had happened and Bertoni's behavior, they immediately questioned Sochi about the controversy. At this moment, Vatican security quickly descended upon us, demanding Sochi to stop speaking with the press. Sochi replied that he was a journalist and was not causing a problem for anyone. It was a public venue, and he had every right to be there and to talk with his colleagues. But the security then drove us by force from the university. They scratched one of my fingers while taking my cell phone by force from me. They demanded that I not record anything, something I wasn't doing anyway. Perhaps they were thinking of the cassette recording of my last conversation that I had with Archbishop Capovilla. That tape was in Sochi's briefcase, and on that tape, the secretary of Pope John XXIII confirmed explicitly that there is or there was an attachment to the secret published in 2000, and that attachment is still unpublished to this day.